So this is the handover for the Toyota well house. We'll begin on the outside of the vehicle. You have a filler cap at the back for your petrol. The lever for it is located near your ankles underneath the steering wheel. When you first open up the back, you've got storage space underneath. Lift up these systems here and you've got the mains lead and the awning, which we'll show you shortly. But over on the right hand side, you've got your gas bottle. You need to turn your gas on and off using the brass knob at the top. So turn it clockwise to turn it off, turn it anti-clockwise to turn it on. There is a second access port you could use through the top if you didn't want to maneuver the bed, but you need small hands to get into that space and go down through there. Best use of the fuel awning is by opening the cab door first of all, tee up into the slot, hold it firmly into position and then begin to wind it out. Wind it out first of all to a midpoint so that you can reach the legs. These are held up in position by squeezing back and then unwinding this little knob at the top. Make sure the foot's folded over to the flat and then extend it down and repeat with the other side. Unscrew the knob, let the leg slide through your hand and then down onto the floor as well. You want sufficient height so that when you open and close the sliding door, it's not knocking against the bottom of the frame. These are sunshades. In wet or windy conditions, you've got to put them away. It's the reverse for doing so. The leg back in, clip it back into the helmet by folding the elbow back in. Same on the other side as well. Be firm with it. Push the leg up through. And then squeeze in like so. And then with the cab door still open, it's the reverse action. Tee back up into the slot and begin winding it back in accordingly. When you open the passenger door, you've also got your fresh water filler cap. So turn the key, take the cap off, and then hose pipe straight in to fill up with water. Back in and turn the key for it to close into position. Down below the passenger door, behind the passenger wheel arch, you've got a blue tap there which you can open and close to drain that fresh water tank off. When you come round to the driver's side, you've got your mains hookup. We'd always recommend you connect to this end of the van first of all and then connect into your sight post. We'll do the mains trip box when we go back inside. When you open the sliding door, you've got an alternative access point for the toilet cassette. We'll go over that in a second, and you've also got access there to the fresh water pump. With the toilet cassette, lift it out for use, pull the lever forward firmly so that your waste can go straight through. There's then a bellows activated action and that will send flush water around the inside of the bowl. You can top up that flush water by removing this cap. For disposal, make sure that the slider's back in, turn the unit all the way around and you should be able to separate the two sections by pulling forward on the flap. On a campsite you'll have collection points for these to go into, so you extend the neck, take the grey cap off completely, and you should then find that when you turn this valve to the open position, it allows airflow in, which then allows the waste then to drain out of the base. Before you load it back in, use a green chemical or a sachet for the Highlands. It's always recommended. Mix with about 1.5 litres to 2 litres or so of water, and then reassemble the unit from the front first of all, and then clip it into position at the back, and then load it back into the cassette space. In the same space as the toilet cassette, you've also got your trip box. It's advisable before you connect to any main supply, regardless of your familiarity with it, that you have it all down in the off position. connect to the side of the van first of all, and then the power supply you're going to be using. Lift up the blue switch and do a circuit breaker test to make sure that you have that continuity of supply, so it should trip out immediately. You can then turn on the remaining switches, and that brings the mains on board into the van, so you can use your power sockets and any other battery chargers as well. You've got a bank of 12-volt fuses in here as well. These are regular blade fuses, and they are the individual fuses for things like your lights, water pumps, igniters, so on and so forth. Replace if necessary. Inside the driver's footwell, you've got two levers. One is for the bonnet release on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you've got the release for the filler cap. To go onto the bonnet, there's a black lever which you need to guide forward in order to release and go underneath. You've got both engine and leisure battery here side by side, along with the circuit fuses that link those two together. You've got power steering and your brake fluid reservoirs, power steering and brake fluid reservoirs back to front on there, oil filler and oil dipstick, and then your screen wash is down at the front there. Underneath the driver's side door, you've got your access for your grey water tank. So you can open that one up for draining off, and that's the water that's collected from the kitchen sink. One other thing to mention that's also in the back when you open up the boot section, if you pull down on this lever, you should find behind it your vehicle toolkit. This model's fitted with an electric power door, so you can pull on the door slightly and then release, and it will automatic. You can also do the same function using the power door button on the key. You can also use the power door one to close the door as well. There is a separate control on the dashboard to control it also. In the back of the van, you've got a 12-volt control panel. So the master switch turns on your 12-volt. That will also turn on the power to the fridge as well. Auxiliary turns on your 12-volt sockets that are located around the van. There's one here, there's one at the other end of the kitchen unit also. Separate switch for the water pump, and then all of your interior lights are controlled from the bottom two switches. Volt indicated by pressing in on that button there, and it will show you your voltage. You also have an Airtronic petrol heater. 3 buttons down to control. Top one turns on the unit, and take a slight delay, and then you'll start to feel warm air coming through. It's using this as the air temperature sensor. This can be manually controlled, so the thicker the line, the warmer the van will become. You can put on also a centigrade control system, so to avoid running away with your fuel, you can set it to a thermostatic control, and the unit will cut in and cut out accordingly. If you want to return it to a manual control, just press back in on the upper button. In warm weather, you can just use it as a circulation fan on its own. To turn the unit off, just deselect and make sure that there are no lights being displayed. For the hob controls, you've got 2 controls. Use the piezo igniter to ignite the gas accordingly. These don't have isolators on the lids, so make sure that you have completely extinguished the flame before you bring the lid down. For the tap with the pump switched on, it should draw water through and draw water up from your onboard freshwater tank. For the bed operation, you need to make sure first of all that you remove the bottom section of the table, like so. Pull out on this black lever at the base, grab hold of the base of the frame, and you should then be able to draw the entire bed mechanism all the way down until it's fully flat, like so. It's the opposite to push it back. So grab hold of the frame, firm tug through, and just make sure that it locks in a position before travelling. To release the roof, you've got 2 pairs of straps at the front. There's nothing else at all, so just push up on the clamp so that you can release the strap. You can either let the whole thing go right the way through. I suggest, and I'll show you why later on, you actually leave it in position and just keep it to a short tab, and then you should just be able to push up onto the roof and it should rise nice and easily like so. When you're returning the roof, if you have released the straps altogether, then you'll need to thread them back through. Draw the roof down carefully. If it's windy or blustery, you do need to make sure that all of the sections are tucked in and that they're not going to get pinched by either the scissor action at the back or by being closed down in any way, shape or form. Should all be nice and secure. The excess material brought in. To tighten the roof, simply just pull down on the strap, pulling the fabric strip all the way through so that it secures into position and anchors the roof down accordingly. Another tip to give you is when you're pulling these in is that as you bring the roof down, if you've got the sliding doors open or a sliding door open, it stops some of the back pressure and actually makes the canvas then easier to draw in also. For the cab operation of the vehicle, starting up, there is a brake pedal as a replacement to your conventional handbrake. So with the vehicle in park, if you push in on it, it should free release and that will enable the vehicle to move off. When you want to secure the vehicle, then push down on it and that secures the handbrake, foot brake system. Ignition start, always make sure that the vehicle is in park mode. With your foot on the brake clutch, you should be able to start up the vehicle no problem. Selection of gears is done through the lever, so you have a reverse, a neutral, and then a drive mode. There are lower gear setting ratios that you can also utilise if you're perhaps hill climbing, for example. And that's indicated by the instrument binnacle over here on the right hand side. Stalk controls, your lights, these are reversed to European vehicles, so your lights and indicators are on the right hand stalk and your wiper controls are on the left with an auto beam reader as well on them. Dipped headlights off, completely off, and then a side light mode, and then back for the main beam. Indicators up, left and down right as you would expect. Left hand stalk is your wiper controls for the front and then a twist of the stalk for the rear view one as well. Basic controls for your ventilation. Your speed of your fan is controlled using the up and down arrows. Using the mode button, you can change the direction of the airflow. You can also control the airflow from the head up unit behind. Temperature can be done in centigrade on that dial there as well, either from an open vent or to recirculate, and then your air conditioning or turning the system off. You have one for the windscreen and one for the rear as well. So that concludes the handover for your Toyota Wellhouse Alphard. On behalf of Highland Camper Vans, thank you very much for watching. Sincerely hope this van's going to give you lots of miles and lots of smiles.